Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's a really exciting evening. This is called Insider Access, and we have a fantastic group of panelists with us today. Just by show of hands for any of the undergrads, have you ever been asked what your major is and you say music, and then the response is, well, what are you going to do with that? I would get asked that all the time. And if you're a performance major, you might want to respond, well, I hope to tour the world and provide music to countless amount of people and bring joy into people's lives. If you're going the music management route, you might want to say, I hope to curate an artist's career and handle their tour and budgeting so that they become the next Taylor Swift or Post Malone, right? If you're a composition major, it might be, I want to be the soundtrack to your life and provide you with music for your favorite TV show, video game, or film. And I think that, especially in music, and why that we get asked that question is because it's not as clear-cut as other career paths, like becoming a lawyer or a doctor. There's not certain certifications, like passing the bar or going to your residency, to guarantee a position in the music industry. And that's why we put this panel together today, because there's certain best practices that you can follow. And you're going to hear some amazing stories of the best practices that everyone here has followed to get to where they are. And we want it to be an open discussion as well, so we're going to have a Q&A period after. We're going to take about 5 to 7 minutes with each panelist, kind of dive into their world, learn a little bit more about them. We're going to have a lightning round in between, so everyone stays engaged. So I'll start with that real quick. We'll go right down the row here. First question is, best concert you have ever attended?
I don't know best, but recent favorite was the Harry Styles concert, just because 2 of my best friends are in his band, and it was a special moment. And honestly, the songs are great.
Taylor Swift, so I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, let's start with Kole Cohen. Let me read your bio here. Singer-songwriter of K-pop writing projects for Red Velvet and BTS. 2023 Grammy nominated for her work with Kelly Clarkson. Absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, give a round of applause. 2023 Grammy nomination right here.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Just starting off, what would you consider as your first big break? Did it happen during your time at UCLA? And if so, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure, Ryan. Yeah. My first introduction to the music industry did happen at UCLA. I was taking a class called Songwriters on Songwriting, which I don't know if it's around anymore. Hopefully it is. Oh, incredible. Professor David Leaf. A songwriter came into the class named Rick Knowles, who has done a bunch of Lana Del Rey and a ton of other amazing work, and he needed somebody to sing Young and Beautiful. And I was like, I will do it. And I got up and sang with him, and afterwards, David pulled me aside, and he said, oh, you showed a little bit of tenacity there. Send me some music if you have any. And I'd been writing songs for half my life at that point, so I sent him a link, and he introduced me to a manager, who I do not speak to anymore. But the manager introduced me to Kobalt, a publishing company, and I ended up signing with Kobalt 3 years later after I graduated, and I'm still with them now. So in a way, it was a break. I don't think anybody in music really has a big break, though. It's all little building blocks and steps, and if it was ever enough, there would be no music industry. So that's the answer, I guess. It was at UCLA, yeah.
Amazing. So would you say persistence and that networking mindset started here at UCLA and ultimately paid off because of that connection and just continuing to pursue it and follow it?
Definitely, yeah. When I was introduced to Kobalt, I wasn't aware of the way that the music industry works, which is people keep an eye on you for a while, and it's all relationship building, and you don't walk into it happens every once in a blue moon where you're handed a record label, and I know people who have been handed record labels and moved here from Florida, moved here from Iowa, but it's not really a recipe for longevity. And in order to have longevity in the music industry, you have to like build upon every relationship that you meet when there is chemistry there and when it's someone that you genuinely connect with. So yeah, I mean, if I had just said, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to send him anything, who knows what would have happened. So
yeah, absolutely. And so your first Grammy nomination?
Yeah.
And now you're executive producing several projects. Do you believe you need to be multifaceted in the music industry? In your case, you're being a songwriter, executive producer, and a musician to ultimately be successful in today's music industry?
Absolutely, especially if anyone has aspirations to go into the songwriting or producing side of things. When you're in the room with an artist, you're never one thing. You're you're writing with them, you're ideally contributing to the track, whether you're on the computer or not. You're a therapist as well. And I started as an artist and still have an artist project that I work on, and knowing what it takes to be an artist is really important when you're in the room with them, because you have respect for the amount of work that goes into everything that they're doing. I know songwriters who haven't been artists who are like, artists are such babies. they're tired, they're upset because their label's not communicating, but it can be really difficult to be in that position. But yeah, as far as executive producing goes, it's been really rewarding to have control and creative input over an entire project. And additionally, like on the financial side, if you're planning on being a songwriter, do not plan on just being a songwriter, because unfortunately in this day and age, it's really difficult to make a living just doing that, because you don't have master points, you don't get fees, you just collect your publishing from Spotify, which is not enough to buy you lunch or pay your rent. So yeah, it's important to expand your skills, especially while you're in school. Like, take advantage that you have a studio here. It's incredible, and learn what you can about engineering and vocal producing, and play as many instruments as you can, and use all the resources.
Fantastic. And speaking of difficulty, just show of hands, how many freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors? Okay, great. What was the most difficult part of transitioning from school into your full-time role?
I think the answer might be the same for people in music and out of music, which is just having control of your own schedule and not having, I'm a big academic person. I loved essays, I loved tests, I loved turning in assignments and getting a well done or a grade. So kind of venturing into a field where everything is subjective, and one person can hear a song and think it's the best thing they've ever heard, and another person can hear the same song and not answer your email. Learning how to validate yourself is really important, and I think it was a big lesson coming out of school, and still learning the lesson, because some songs that I have from 3 or 4 years ago, or even songs that I wrote while I was in college, are getting cut now. And I'm like, I thought that was a bad song because people ignored it 3 years ago, but it really is less about the songs and more about persistence.
Absolutely. And what's the most fulfilling part of your job?
I love making music. There's nothing better to me than, at the end of the day, especially when we're talking about like pop songwriting and production, when it's right, and finishing a day with a group of friends or even by myself and playing the song 5 times at the end of the day and being like, this is, I don't know what a hit is, but it feels like a hit, and it feels great to me, and I will listen to it in the car for the next 2 weeks. That's the most fulfilling thing. And it's funny because like you'd think it would be a Grammy nomination, but when you get one of those, you're like, now I need to figure out how to get the next one. So it's less fulfilling than you think it is, but it is very exciting, and I'm really proud of where I've come from, where I started and where I am now in the past few years since I graduated. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're proud of you. So
Thank
everyone,
you.
Kole Cohen, thank you so much. Well, now, unfortunately, no more lightning rounds, but this is the time to open it up for a little Q&A. So anyone who has a question, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll get to you. And if you want to address it to a certain panelist, feel free to just ask, or a general, and one of us could step in and help answer it. So feel free to raise your hand, and we could start.
Hi. I had a question for everyone. So when you're getting that first job or that first internship, what is the thing that gets your foot in the door, or what is like the key to almost convincing them that you're the thing that they need?
I can speak to the creative side as far as getting into writing sessions, and I would say being a kind person and being someone that people want to be around is extremely important, because the basis of the creative industry is collaboration. So just be a good person as much as you can.
Hi, this is for everyone also. How do you balance when you have a lot of different gigs all in the air at the same time, and prioritize your time, and at the same time be thinking, do I need to clear space in my schedule for the thing that hasn't come yet, and which one do I let go of, and to create this space and know that something you want more is going to come into that space? Because I find myself just so busy, and I'm like, I don't think there's space for the new thing to come in yet. So how would you think about that?
I'd be happy to start. So there was.
I don't know if this will relate directly to your job or situation, but on the creative side, I find that saying no to way more things than I used to say no to has helped a lot, and I see a way bigger return when I'm working on things that I'm very passionate about and projects that I really believe in with artists that I really believe in. When I started, I was doing 7 days a week, two sessions a day, and saying yes to every possible thing I could. And as I've gotten a little bit closer to where I want to be in my career, it's great to hold off and say, all right, I can dedicate 3 weeks to this artist, then I can take a week off, and I can work on my own stuff. And yeah, I do find that when you're truly passionate about something, you end up seeing a greater return on it in the long run.
Hi, I think my question, is mostly for like the gigging side, but a conversation that I have a difficult time with, or that I find a lot of people don't give a lot of information on, I think is like payment and rate. And I'm finding myself kind of like, how do I go into this conversation knowing that like I'm getting paid what I should be and I'm not getting ripped off, especially because I have no like prior knowledge. So how do I kind of enter that conversation and kind of establish a rate that's fair?
Yeah, no.
I would just add to that and say not to be afraid to lose the job, because when you're starting, it feels very terrifying to have an opportunity in front of you and you feel like, how could I give this up? But I've lost out on song deals or production deals because the artist was trying to take publishing on a song that they didn't write, or they were not willing to pay. I'm a producer as well, and they weren't willing to pay a production fee, but they're with a label, and all sorts of weird situations come up. Also, artist managers, they just want to save their artist money. They don't really care about you all that much, generally speaking. So whether or not they're telling you the truth about what they can really afford, that's up to your instinct, and you just have to walk in being willing to leave most of the time, especially as a woman. Like, you just have to be like, this is what I'm asking for, and if you can't do it, find somebody else, and they will find someone else, but you can't sell yourself short, because it'll set a standard for you going forward, and they'll hear, oh, we got her for this, like, so you don't want to do that too much, but it's hard, it's really difficult, but ask around. I think that's the biggest piece of advice for sure.
Having worked with a lot of conductors, being a cellist, I've had a lot of, say, interesting times that I've had to go through. How would you deal with a problematic person in your field? Just out of curiosity. Thank you.
Part of why I love being a songwriter and a producer is that I never have to see them again, because I make my schedule. The other thing is I did find that like most of the charlatans, like the sketchy people, are when you start. As you kind of move through the ranks, the nice people tend to rise to the top, and the honest people tend to rise. And you'll find one or two, blemishes every once in a while, but in the early days, just got to cut them out. It's not worth it. It's never worth it.
Well, there we go. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming to the first Insider Access at the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music. Really appreciate it. There's a couple people that I just wanted to thank real quickly: Dean Strempel, Liz Volwinkle, Brandon Faber, Cameron Roberts, Sean Allen, and to all of our amazing panelists: Kole Cohen, Nicole Garcia, Satya Fuentes, Vince Villanueva, and Jeff Krika. Thank you so much.
And Ryan.